mid-con.
You're here to nap.
Everyone's a little sleepy.
That's the shoe on the side. Did everyone come to the shoe panel?
Yeah! Oh,
3 degrees.
I've only seen it on Twitter.
Well, did everybody shoot their pants? Chelsea, we talked about this.
Serious.
Oh, I don't mess around. Moderation is very important to me. So welcome to the power of queer social media. I'm your moderator, Dana Pigley. I'm the managing editor of Bella Books, which you're really tired of hearing. And so I have a distinguished panel, and I'm going to introduce them, starting with Miss Chelsea Steiner here on the end. Chelsea is a screenwriter, a blogger, a critic, and a sex educator. Chelsea Steiner.
Thank you so much. And by the way, there's a new portmanteau in town. It's Picklestein.
Yeah, if you ship us.
If you ship,
We're both married, but if you ship us, that's what people. Next to Chelsea, straight from Australia, right? I was gonna say I didn't mess up and say like Australia when it was New Zealand because I get in trouble for that. I'm so sorry. She is a TV producer, writer, of course, part of her. She's an Aussie and she's here. This is Tara Stewart.
Every one of my panels, they just kind of like blank face. I have no idea what's going on.
Huh?
We're not the neighbors.
All right. We have Bridget Leszewski. Leszewski, sorry. Leszewskians. It's because I was thinking too hard about it. She is an ally extraordinaire. A Canadiophile. Can we say, is that, yeah, she's a Canadiophile. And she is the editor-in-chief of the TV Junkies. So, Bridget. And this lady right here, you might know her. She was the executive producer, writer, and showrunner for a little show called Lost Girl. See, it's the Saturday slump. And it's now at the helm of a little show called Let It Earn. Give it up! You guys are a really good smelling panel. Everyone smells really nice.
I'm sweating through my old
Yeah,
sweats.
me too.
I can't see out of my eyes. So.
I can hold your mic.
No, so this is for everyone, okay? And we're gonna open this up because I definitely want all of you to ask questions because this is about you. You know, we're all here because of the power of queer social media, are we not? So I wanted to know when you first realized that queer fans had the sort of power that we actually do in media. Because for me, it was really early on during Glee, when Britannia was just a glimmer in a lesbian blogger's eye. And we even made it into an episode of Glee. I mean, they even said after Ellen, lesbian blogging community, they got it. They knew we were talking about them. So for me, that was the moment. So I'm curious when it was for you guys.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely Glee really put it on the map. I mean, this is a relationship that didn't exist before the outpouring of fandom was we want to see these cheerleaders make out. And, it started as a throwaway joke, it evolved and became one of the most, defining lesbian romances, marriages of network television of the 2000s. So it was a really interesting trajectory. I mean, that was the first time I was whoa, this is a big deal.
For me, I think my first one was probably the Buffy fandom. I remember just going on to fanfic forums back in the day. I can't remember what it would have been. I think it was before, probably GeoCities. Oh yeah, that was really it. And that was the first time. Firstly, my name is Tara, and I was really into that. That was my shit. The first time that I ever started interacting with other fans about it, I think, prior to that, you know, I shipped a few things, but there wasn't really something on mainstream TV that I'd found that represented me. So that was really the first one, and not the last.
I was admittedly way later to the game. I didn't really notice it. My site has only been around like 3 years, so we started covering the 100 and the way that the fans blacked it. Sorry.
We will get to that.
Then I realized I should be covering more Canadian TV, which is much more open. But I think so. It was really Winona Earp, like in the way that Way Hot just like blew up after episode 2 for me. So I was much later to the game.
And for me, obviously, as a creator, I came from a different angle, but it was definitely just seeing the response to Bo and Lauren. And you really saw this kind of hunger and this desire for people to see themselves represented on television as succubi, all the succubi came up, like, finally! But it was just massive, and you saw these really, especially like genre fans who were like, yeah, we are LGBT and we're genre fans, and finally something has been made for us. Thank you. But don't screw it up. Thank you. But we hate you. We love you. All that. But it was a rich tapestry. Yeah.
You know what? You guys, yeah.
Thank you. So, guys, let's talk about 307.
It's like a bandit.
It's all connected. Lex's death. And how it impacted fandom. I mean, as an entertainment writer, and I've been writing about television and all this stuff for 5 years, I have never seen anything like this. And do you think it was just the straw that broke the camel's back? Because things have it feels like everything is different now. And let's start with you, Tara.
Yeah, I also feel like it was a shift that people really, really connected to. And it was definitely the first one that I saw to that level on Twitter. I mean, you talk about the flamingo migration or the flamingo effect. We sort of followed into fandoms. And I remember being in that first fandom, which was like the Orphan Black and Clone Club. And then we went to Carmilla, and then the second we saw Lexa, and we jumped over onto the 100, and everyone was so excited and so into it. And she was such an incredible character. People were immediately connected and interested and obsessed. So when we got to that point, the fandom was already so big, and people were already, you know, communicating and talking and making such incredible art and incredible videos that it just sort of had to happen. That was definitely the last straw, but also, could it have been anyone else? I'm not sure.
That's a really good question. Like, could it have been? I don't think so. But no, I mean, yeah, I mean, it could. I don't think so.
I mean, especially the Clexa, and of course Clexa is across all ages, but I feel like the age group of people in their 20s, people who watched The 100 in high school. I'm in my 30s, so I came to it a little bit later, but everyone, you have that kind of defining queer ship or queer characters that you see at such an impressionable age, they just stick with you. Like for us, it's Buffy, and I mean, it's Willow and Tara, and it's Buffy. But for this younger generation, it's Clexa. And because this younger generation is so much more active on social media, they're on Twitter, Snapchat, they're on everything. When 307 happened, I think everyone who was invested was on social media, and everyone was pissed. And this was after losing so many characters, year after year of losing all of these characters. It really truly was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I could possibly go wrong. Trash some other writers. No. I will admit that I didn't watch the 100, but I certainly had heard about it, and it was just exploding because of this relationship. I did a funny tweet when I heard that it happened, which I totally copped to, because I was like, wow, they were gonna eat it like you can't even believe. I did know that. I was like, oh my god. I think the thing that was interesting from a creator point of view was, without making excuses for everyone, I really don't know if they understood what they had done. And you're like, well, I hate that answer so much. No, I would say this, it was interesting that it was obviously, there had been certain efforts made to court the community, and then I think it was painful because the community got betrayed. And personally, it was hard because there were a lot of young people who were really invested in the relationship, so that was quite painful to watch on social media, to be totally honest. And someone who I know was really instrumental in talking about it was Mo Ryan, who has been here, and she really was one of the first journalists who kind of said, yeah, definitely credit. She's napping, she's so lucky. No, but she really deserves credit, I think, just for recognizing what a betrayal this had been, and that this wasn't going to go away. This was something that really was the straw, as you said, that broke the camel's back, and people were going to yell about it, and they should yell about it. So,
I would add to that, like really wasn't aware of the trope. Like I wasn't aware until the 100, and it was people like Mo, and all of a sudden it seemed like everyone was talking about it, and even a lot of writers I've spoken to had no idea like about the trope, which I thought was interesting. And yeah, they saw the impact of what it was doing to social media, and I think it really just helped get everybody else start, hey, this is a thing. Like, you guys all knew it was a thing. Like, we didn't know it was a thing. So, yeah.
Well, let's keep with you, Virgin, because... So, as a straight ally, you've actually been very connected to the queer fandom, especially through Winona Earp. What do you think sets it apart from other fandoms?
Just the passion. Like, I feel like, I don't know, like, we hear, like, shipping wars between straight couples, but, like, I don't know, I was always like, I'm Team Angel, like, but I never felt like I needed to fight.
She's
Sorry,
cooking down.
I still watch Bones every now and then, see David Graham. But, yeah, so, what?
I was just going to ask you about the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't understand, like, when Hot showed up, like, I really didn't understand why that was such a big deal, or why, so,
That's because she opened a door in Shorty's, but it was inside every
And then
queer
I
girl's heart.
And then just, like, so many fans, like, hearing, because I got so much feedback from the Winona Earp community, and, like, just hearing, like, how important it was, I just realized how much I didn't know, and I didn't understand.
Well, what I love about you is that you educate yourself, and you're the best about that. I've always appreciated that. She's a really terrific ally. So, speaking of allies, Emily. So as you mentioned, you've been in direct contact with the fandom like since the Lost Girl days, and I think you've been one of the most respectful and engaged creators with the queer fandom community. So I thank you for that. And I think part of that is because when you don't just listen to fans, you hear it, like in your bones, like you get it, and that's really special. And I think that's why there are so many fanbases out there, which you can buy a T-shirt of. And
no, we can't.
oh, yeah, I see one right there, though.
Stand up.
But so, what does it mean to you to have such a close relationship to social media, and how has it changed for you from Lost Girl to Winona Earp?
I really appreciate you saying that, but like, I would be remiss if I didn't say that. Like, I feel like I personally have had missteps and also had to learn along the way. Like, I absolutely did. Just when you're writing things that are dramatic, sometimes you still make mistakes. So I may be here and I'll tell you things I would have done differently in the past. What has changed? I just think that there is a recognition that the LGBT community is, as I said yesterday in my panel, like polite but terrifying, which is amazing. But it's incredible. This is a really educated, generous, warm community that wants to see themselves represented in a way that is respectful, and they will make their voices heard, and they will move, for the most part, as a group. They will migrate as a group to support things very passionately that they think are done well. I just think like social media in general has grown from Lost Girl to Winona Earp, so I just think there is a platform now that is also taken more seriously by decision makers, so by the networks and producers and whatnot, for you to make your voices heard. So it's just honestly volume and organization, you know? I guess that's it. That people know the LGBT community also do speak to each other and just communicate what shows they want to support and what's important to back, and that is really important, I think. Just to say, we're here, we are watching, So please make more of this for us immediately.
So I apologize for having to read this, but my brain can't fit any more like memorization in it at the moment. So some people think fans may have gotten a bit too powerful, or at least they think we have, and have I can't even read my own writing here. This must have been really early in the morning, and that some folks are pretty quick to come down on behavior that. Oh, and it's because fans are quick to come down on behavior that they find stereotypical or manipulative, and like the whole like calling out, bearing your gaze. I mean, that's our job, right? Some creators, some people in the industry seem to think that will make future writers and showrunners less likely to produce queer content and characters. And well, to that I say, if that's the way they feel, I don't want those people writing those things, you know? But I'd like to know what all your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think the thing you need to remember is that all of these bad tropes exist for straight couples as well, but there's so many of them that no one has to call them out because they can just switch to another channel and watch Great Grab. So when we get very passionate about one of 17 lesbian or bisexual characters on TV, which I think is the statistic, but I'm not the statistic person in my group. Someone will call me out on that. When there's only 17 and 2 of them are dead, and then the other ones are all crazy bisexuals or whatever else they can come up with that's on every other show, we have to call it out because we can't go to another ship, we can't go to another character, and if that's a negative and they're not going, like you said, they're not going to write about it, then I really, really don't want them to, because do it right, I don't do it at all.
Also, and when you said that, it reminds me, when Glee was on, Glee had a major, the writers had that major backlash when they were.
That's why they did the Cheerio thing on the floor. I'm positive about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you see, but what was nuts to me was writers in the Glee writers' room were like tweeting back and getting into it with fans, and it was like, number one, dude, know your audience. By the way, no surprise, the combative, angry Glee writers were straight men. Who knew? They're white. So masculine, so fragile. But number one, like as a writer, it's like, dude, know your audience. Like show some respect. You wouldn't have a job if it weren't for your fans. So if they're calling you out on something, like maybe listen to them. It's okay to disagree, but like don't get into Twitter wars with fans. You're a professional, like if I was the boss of that room, that person would have been fired. Like that's unacceptable behavior. And I do think that, again, we should listen to fans, and we should, because you wouldn't have a show without fans, and you wouldn't have it without people who watch. So there has to be a sense of respect and open-mindedness to that. You have to agree with everything they say. You don't have to implement every single fan request, but it should be a mutually respectful arrangement. And the thing is, when people respect the community respects them. And there's no fan group that's more loyal than LGBT fans. No one more loyal. So,
I think I have to jump back in a bit there to queer baiting as well. You sort of almost touched on it.
Yeah.
But when these writers' rooms are using those fans on the same mediums, on the same platforms, that then they're like, oh no, now they're really angry at us on Twitter. We just tweeted 5 times that, this episode's going to be only about Sanders. You can't call us out on that because we can just immediately call you back out on, doing the same thing to us.
And I think that's why Lex's death stung so bad. Because that room, they courted queer fans. They were pushing the Clexa Portmanteau agenda. So when it's like giving you something with one hand and slapping you in the face with the other, so.
I also think there's a difference of power when it comes to getting really passionate over something like a shipping war versus using your power as a fandom or as queer people to educate these writers about what's going on, because I think so many, I was unaware, I think that so many TV writers were so unaware of these tropes, and if that's what your power is going to do is educate people, how is that a bad thing? That's nothing but good, so.
Fans. I'm pro.
Fans, love them.
Ain't got nothing but love for your fans.
We're talking about
respect for your fans.
we're talking about creators who are like, oh, I can create your gay stories.
Yeah, oh, that's such bullshit. I mean, sure, whatever, but like, just don't tell any story with anyone diverse ever. Fine, good luck. It's so boring. Like, please give me another male anti-hero in his 40s who's got a beautiful wife and is sad because he's making like $100,000 instead of $200,000 a year. It's so sad.
You really want to get that off your chest.
Sorry, I'm just like, did you guys see fun? That's kind of bullshit. No, I mean, and this is the truth as well, is like, that's a double-edged sword. I think you gotta put your money where your mouth is as a fandom. Like, love what you love, but turn the TV off. If something doesn't respect you, please don't support it. There's 500 other scripted shows, and more, you know, these aren't, it's not the 70s or the 80s. It's not like 30 million people are gonna watch MASH, or gonna watch Planet on Earth. Next year, maybe, maybe like 27 million. With you guys, maybe, but, we have to find other ways as a fandom, to tell the powers that be that we love a show and support a show. So you have a choice. Do you know what I mean? If people aren't telling diverse stories or aren't hiring diversity behind the scenes, which is another thing, the best part about social media is like we can call people out on that stuff now. You know what I mean? You can't hide, we know, whatever. My one rule is just like try to be respectful. Especially with things like cast. Like, cast are beautiful, beautiful puppets. None of them are here. And like, they're super good looking. And some of them are smart, but I just mean, I'm like, truly, honestly, that's my own personal rule, is I'm pretty sure the classic girls did what they could to the best of their abilities, given the circumstances, right? Yeah, so, I don't know, it goes both ways. I just think if you court a fandom, you do have to listen to them. You can't have both ways.
Well, I think this is just a point I want to make that Emily just brought up. If you are upset with something, if you don't like the way a show is treating you, you have to turn it off. Like, you can't just DVR and then hate watch it, you know? Because, I mean, you can, but it's sending a signal. I think it was pretty clear a couple weeks ago when ratings came out that you made an impact on a particular show by not turning it on, right? Yeah. So that is in a way putting your money where your mouth is, because your ratings translates money. So Tara, this is for you. For a community who has spent so much of its life feeling powerless, I mean, only in the last couple decades have we actually gotten a foothold, you know? We felt so powerless in so many ways, but how do you think we can take this growing voice and make it a positive and fruitful movement?
Yeah, I think it's all, along with what Emily was saying, that we do have to support the shows that we love just as much as we have to call out the ones that are doing it very badly. I mean, that's what our show is, what the shows are about, you know. It's about, paying attention to what is good rep and what's bad rep, and when it is fantastic and when it is great, turn on the TV, watch it, and I don't know, I guess there isn't a lot, that is the positive that we're taking out of it, and by creating all these statistics and getting all this research done about all of the shows, the ones that are doing it well, the ones that are doing it poorly, we can make those decisions well, and I guess that's it. One of the things that we're working on at the moment is a TV scoring system. So basically watching every show that's running on network TV in America, and we're scoring it not just on how many characters there are, but how much rep and what is good rep and what tropes are in it. And I think if we can just keep working towards educating the public and educating the writers about when it is bad and what tropes are going to get that kind of backlash, we can move forward positively.
Since this all happened, and I'm keeping on you with this, since this all happened last year, what shows do you think have been the most responsive?
To the backlash?
To the backlash and to this social media conversation, besides When on Earth.
Well, yeah, that is definitely one of them. I think When on Earth, I think Carmilla has been really great about it. They were great beforehand. Anyone that's doing a lot of web series like that have been really cool about not just supporting the movement, but doing interviews and talking about the issues with the people that are going to listen and the people that are going to matter. I can't even really think about how many other shows we have on that are doing it really well right now. I mean, Sanders is good rep, and I'm really positive about that. For now. Yeah, and Orphan Black, I mean, they had some issues for a little while there, but I think, yeah, we've got the new season coming out, so we'll see there as well. I'm so cautious about like making a judgment pre-seeing it, because I'm going to be honest, didn't think it was going to go where it was going to go with Class 3 though.
So Emily, as someone who is in the position that you're in, next to Bridget, as a creator, what makes the biggest impact for you, social media wise?
Oh, there's so much. I think just seeing all the positive stuff on Twitter and the hashtag, like I go through the hashtag and see what everyone's saying, so keep that in mind. Honestly, that's massive. Twitter, Instagram, stuff like that. Social media wise, just like volume of people sharing, people talking about specific stuff about the show. Like I like it when people make up their own hashtags, and then suddenly that hashtag is the thing. Like we came up with a really dirty one yesterday. I can't remember what it is. No, I totally will. It's burned in my mind. But that's really impactful. And then you get a sense of like rhythm, like you see like multiple people from all over kind of responding to the show and tweeting about the same moments and the same things and things they like. Like it doesn't happen in the vacuum. So I think Twitter is still massive. Like I don't know if I'm getting myself so old, but that's a big one. And I know other people in positions of power really follow Twitter. So I think that's really important. But all kind of social media is like people just writing articles, and podcasts are really big. There's such an influx now too. I really noticed this during my own herb. It's like there's a lot of LGBT reporters and people who are kind of finding their own niche and reporting about shows they think, or any media or books or what have you, that kind of cater to a specific audience. So people are paying attention to that stuff, and we certainly are. So, and one sort of begets another, and you kind of follow it.
All of you are like so well versed in this and so smart. I want to open this up to like, if there's anything you want to bring up before we open this to fan question, to audience questions. Like, are there any burning thoughts, questions, or things you want to bring up?
Yeah, I would just like to
Picklestein.
Hashtag Picklestein. No, I would just like to bring up, the importance of your viewership and the importance of your dollars. Money talks, subscribe to channels like Tello Films. It's the price of a cup of coffee a month, and you get tons of original queer content. Stuff like that is so important. And like, if you want to support queer characters, watch those shows. Like we just had, Laverne Cox's show on CBS Doubt, it was a legal procedural, and it was the first transgender main character of a series, and there was so much fanfare about it. It aired 2 episodes and it tanked because no one watched it. So it's like really important, even if you're not home, leave the TV on that channel. That's probably terrible for like the environment. Maybe don't do that. But really like seek out queer material, seek out queer characters, queer creators, queer friendly creators, and really show them some love, show them some bucks, because like that's how we get the content that we want to see.
And also just keep creating your own stuff too.
Yes.
I mean, these fans, everyone is so creative in these fans. It's insane. I think when we start to see this generation of budding fanfic and like writers, that's going to be the future of our content. So keep going.
Yeah, you should all, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in just real quick before you, Bridget. Like, you should all be taking like pictures of your shirts and your art and your stuff, and you need to be sending that to sci-fi.
Send it to sci-fi.
Yes, send it to sci-fi.
And they asked, like I got a text this morning from my executive who's like, hey, can you show me pictures of all the Nicole Hawk cosplayers and all that stuff? And I'm like, yes.
Please told us like straight up, this shit matters. So, yeah. Okay, sorry.
No, I was just gonna build on the power of positivity, like to keep talking about the things that you love, and like just to echo the sentence. Like, it's important to call out the stuff that's wrong, it's important to say this is bad, but it's so much more powerful to say, you guys are doing it right, like, more of this, please. Because, like, who doesn't want to be told that, oh, Emily, you're so smart. Like, she acts like she's, no, but, but like, they, like, yeah, if you're like making something and you're getting positive feedback on it, you're just gonna want to do it more. So like just keep being positive, I think, about everything.
All right, so I'd love it if some of you would ask some questions of this wonderful panel. I'm going to hand over one of these mics. We're going to have to share a little bit more, because if you don't mind, can we just hand off one of these? Thank you. San Junipero. Okay, so yeah, just walk on up.
Go ahead. We have just been talking about like not watching what was it called, the 100. For the reason, I mean, I know everybody unfollowed Jason Rothenberg and everything, but the 100, even though it killed Lexa, still is the only show was bisexual. Not actually, the second show was How to Get Away with Murder. Was a bisexual lead character, like was a teenage bisexual lead character that gets exposition as a bisexual lead character. So I wanted to be like, should we give the show a chance to support it, or is it like oh no, you have earned us?
I think that's a personal decision for sure. If you want to support that show because you feel like that is representing you, absolutely. I think that it's doing so many other things wrong that's where it sort of hits that bar for me. It wasn't just killing Lexa, it was killing Lincoln. It was treating quite a few other characters quite poorly, disabled characters. The list is like never ending. I mean, we've all seen it on Twitter. But like you should always support something that you love, and if you feel like that is good for you and positive for you, I wouldn't.
Well, I'm gay, but bisexuals have like such little representation and such little diverse and positive representation and it's like such a vulnerable community that I feel that I need to support them in any way I can, and that's why it's like such a tricky subject, because a lot of shows don't do everything right, and I, as much as I love Lost Girl, you know, it also did have its missteps, and maybe what my plea would be for the, social media, the queer social media, is that it's not just like, you're doing this wrong, we hate you so much, because a lot of the queer social media backlash can be like super negative, like super derogative, and be like more productive, basically.
I mean, you're making excellent points. That's nothing that you said is not true.
However,
there isn't a however. I mean, that's just simply true. And it's hard. I mean, I'm a person that writes about TV, and people get pissed at me sometimes. It happens. And the thing is, I think a lot of 100 fans are really torn about this. I mean, raise your hand if you were super torn because you love Clark. I mean, I freaking love Clark. But what happened and what that show did to this community, as somebody who is able to have a voice for this community, I can't. I personally can't. But I totally get what you're saying.
I also really don't like the idea of like being thrown a bone, and not a very good bone. The way every single person that Clark has slept with on that show or been with on that show is either dead or beat up. If it's not positive representation, I personally cannot support it whatsoever. I want good bisexual characters.
I agree, and it sucks when the shows that we love fuck up. It does. I mean, I love Orange is the New Black, but when they killed off Poussey, I was furious. I was sorry. Guys, it was on last year. Watch Orange.
Did we seriously just have a spoiler thing? Spoiler?
I got bad
Oh
news.
no, she was just upset about Poussey. She had. We're all totally understandable.
So it's a tough position, and it is a personal choice. If you want to watch something, watch it. If you don't. But it's tough. Like, shows fuck up, writers fuck up, recappers fuck up. That's just we're all human and we're all people.
Were you the only question? Oh
No.
Oh, I love you guys.
They're just sitting down.
Are you guys kneeling and guilty? What's going on?
It finally happened.
Well deserved. It's for Andrews. So, I have multiple questions, but I'm only going to ask one.
Go ahead, ask a couple.
Oh, really? Okay, great. Okay. First, okay, so we've mentioned Sam Burgers a lot so far this weekend, and sure I'm not the only one in the room who is very frustrated right now with how that show is treating that couple.
I want to hear you tell me
Why I'm frustrated.
Yeah, 30 seconds
Okay.
as a writer. Like, honestly, tell me exactly what is frustrating you. And I realize you don't speak for everyone, but now you do. No pressure. No, I'm serious. I want you to say exactly out loud, as someone who's only on season 1,
Okay,
what
well,
is frustrating you.
Right, so speaking specifically about Sanders, because there's a whole other issue with Cara, which we could talk
Yes,
about.
we're not aware.
And feminism on television and how they destroyed her character and her relationship with her sister, but again, another panel.
Okay.
So Sanders specifically, and we keep bringing up the most recent Valentine's Day episode, where it felt very reminiscent of how we all were treated with Clexa, where there was a lot of baiting going on in the weeks leading up to that, because first they said it was going to be on the 13th, and said, oh, it's a Valentine's Day episode, it's all about Sanders, this couple, and we all got really excited, and then they bumped it to the next week, but they still were billing it as a Sanders-centric episode.
Right.
And I think they got maybe 2.5 minutes of screen time in a 40-minute TV show. And on top of that, the thing that they are focusing on is a white, cis, heterosexual couple where the man is very problematic. They normally are, but I mean, this one is really bad. And so, to Tara's point earlier, she said, if it's not going well, turn it off. But as someone who tries to see the perspective of everyone, I mean, the writers have written things in a vacuum a lot of times,
Yeah.
right? And they need a little bit of lead time to hear what we're saying, to realize, oh shit, we fucked up.
Yeah.
Let's fix it.
Not making excuses. Sometimes too, they've also like written the whole season.
Right, okay,
And
so-
like then you see the response and you're like, oh god, oh god, oh god.
So this is exactly
I'm not making excuses at all, but like you do very much right your back.
Yeah, this is exactly my question. At what point do you check out?
Oh.
Because like I had a moment on Monday night where I was like, okay, I'm done. And 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, a year ago, I would have died for that show. I would have told everyone to watch
Like
that show.
every relationship, you check out when it doesn't
Yeah.
make you feel good anymore. You break up, it doesn't make you feel happy. Especially I think with your entertainment, to be honest. Like if you, especially something like Supergirl, which is like so joyous and about, whatever it is. It's supposed to be no, I mean like seriously, staying neutral. It's supposed to be about a girl who's super. If it doesn't make you feel super, I would say
There's 500 and
there's
so
like
many
5,000
other shows out
other
there.
shows and like you can have hope. Like I think that's okay too, right? Like I think part of the pain of Clexa as well, which we see, is like there were moments of grace and beauty with that relationship, right? If we're being totally honest, the reason there's so much devastation is because there's something really unique and the chemistry was incredible. And for a moment it was really wonderful, right? That's fair to say. We wouldn't care. It wouldn't have broken it.
Exactly a moment.
I was like, in like 7 seconds. And I'm like, but I just mean like that's what's so heartbreaking about it. But it's like any breakup, right? When do you know it's over? And so often with my breakups, I've known it's over before I actually said it was over.
Right.
Right. But
Yeah. So, second question, really quickly. So, as someone who was very much involved in the soap universe back in the day, Team Italia forever. Right? The way that we got things done in that fandom was being really positive and writing letters and doing postcards and going on fan forums and saying the things that we loved about the relationship. So that was I think that's why I took to Winona Earp so quickly, is because it was the same feeling, right? But the other side of that is what happened with Clexa. It was very much, how dare you, and there was a lot of negativity. I'm not saying in a bad way, right? Because we were all hurt and like it was real people that were affected. And I'm just curious to writers as well as creators, which do you think gets to the people who are making decisions better? Being positive about something and pointing. I know what Ricky's going to say, because she's already said it. Positivity is the way to go. But what is more successful, positivity or pointing out things that you are? Because I really love to point out the shit that's making me angry about Sanders, but I keep trying to find the things that are good, because that's the only thing that ever gets retweeted. When I live tweet that show, if I say bad stuff, it never gets retweeted. But the minute I say something fun, like nice, the director of the episode will retweet it, or the writer will retweet it, or something. And I don't know what's better.
Well, nobody likes. Listen, you have every right to be angry. You have every right to be pissed. It's your right to say what you need to say. Nobody likes to be told that they should die in a house fire. I mean, I've had people tell me that, and it's not fun, and I'm not going to retweet that.
Also, someone called Dana a Sith Lord on Twitter. And I was like, you're not a Sith Lord, you're a Jedi. But I think it's important to be open to negative criticism. There's a fine line between being abusive and just like saying like, you've really upset me and I don't like this and this needs to change. And I think that it's easy for people to focus on the stuff like, you're not in a house, fire, than to say like, I'm a queer person and this is really devastating to me. That is not as easy to focus on as the like hardcore negative. And it's easy to lump all that together and be like, oh, they're just so angry, right? Bunch of angry lesbians.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's the thing, I don't think it has to be negative. I think it's about educating people and it's about raising awareness. Like a lot of the trends we did, LGBT fans deserve better wasn't a negative trend. It was just to get that voice out there. Tell your story, but you don't have to tear apart the show while you're doing it. Tell them what they did wrong, how they can do better, but also, be positive when it is positive. I think you just have to have a balance of both. Maybe don't tell anyone to kill themselves.
Please don't do that.
This question is for Emily. Emily, we're just wondering, you guys are great for like fan interaction on Twitter. Thank you. The wife and I are West Coast, so we always have that battle of like, do we wait to watch it, or do we kind of like get on Twitter?
Like mute us.
Exactly. So we were wondering if sci-fi was going to maybe push it back on the West Coast, or maybe try to make it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and I think there were a couple episodes where I did stay on the West Coast, but then it's like 5 a.m. and I'm like, yeah, I think that's not a terrible idea. IDW is certainly looking at that because it sucks to miss out, right? And we really so much of our success was creating this kind of party, like everyone's part of the party, and you can say all sorts of stuff, and the cast is gonna say kooky stuff, so we definitely want to keep that atmosphere. So we'll see. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for watching anyway. You can mute me. I won't know.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
There's been a lot of talk this weekend about gaining the representation you want to see by giving money to the people who are making those things, right? And getting involved that way. For those of us who only have so much money to go around, I'm wondering where the intersection is between using social media to gain the representation that you want to see. And so what do you feel are the most impactful ways that we can use social media for that? And as a bi trans person, I don't see myself on TV, and so I'm wondering how can I help get that message out?
Well, number one, I want someone to make a web series about bi trans guys, and
I will talk to them.
well, no, I'm serious. Like,
You should make it.
it breaks my heart that you don't see yourself. I know what it's like to not see yourself. I'm a little bit older, that's all of you. And I remember what that was like. And so, listen to your community, right? He's saying, I don't feel represented. And we can make that happen in a lot of ways. We can tell the people that have the power, maybe the money, we want this to happen. So it's about coming together. It's about talking to people like myself and Chelsea, like people who are writers and can, I'm not gonna say like I'm tapped into Emily, but like I'm gonna tell her what you guys tell me, because it's important.
And also I want to say, like, when we say money, I also mean like literally you watching the show is ratings, which translates into advertising dollars. Like, you don't gotta give me a paycheck, although I will accept it graciously. But like seriously, that's what I kind of mean by money. Like that's the way networks think, right? Is, oh my God, 5 million people are watching it. That means I can sell more soap, right? To soap companies. So like honestly, you really do see social media movements on Twitter, like all the time. I think just supporting those hashtags, getting involved with the fandom, finding your people, and then kind of grouping and making plans and making like timed hashtags and stuff like that is really effective. Like having a day. But I do hope you see yourself on television sometime. And I'll try. I'll keep trying. You give me some Game of Thrones money. Whole show about you guys just running around. Also, riding a dragon.
If we Also, share your, if you don't have the money, share your talents. You know?
And your time.
Share your talents and your time. Like, if you're an artist, like, make some awesome art and post it all over the damn place. Like, that stuff matters. It all adds up. Go ahead.
Hello. So, Terry, you don't have to answer this question because you probably heard me ask it like a million times. But, so I do academic stuff. I write about representation of LGBTQ people and women on television. And we're kind of like out here in our ivory tower, not connecting with any other industry or anything else. So what can we as academics do to kind of connect with like the entertainment side or just to kind of make awareness happen?
I'll answer it again if you want. And this is, I think I've said the same thing to you like 3 times, but you can all hear the answer.
I didn't hear it.
Okay, I'll speak directly to you.
I feel bad that I'm like asking you this question.
That's okay. What we're doing at LGBT Fans is we're trying to bridge the gap. We're trying to take the people who have the time and the skills to research and look into these shows, and then we can report it in a way that hopefully will eventually get to the writers. And so far we've done all right, but or get to the media. Anyone that will listen, and we're totally willing to give a platform to the people who are willing to do it. And we do take volunteers. Please come and see us at our booth.
And I do think just, again, this is why social media is so great, she said as she spilled her beer. Get that drunk off the stage. No. But really, what's so cool about Twitter and social media is you can send a message to Emily Andress and she will read it, probably. Like, you can talk to all of these writers and creators. The boundaries that were there before don't exist anymore. So reach out to the actors, the writers, the creators, the other academics. Like that to me is like by far the best avenue to kind of get into contact, start a relationship, start talking.
I found that people really like pretty. If you're in the academics, if like you can translate what is going on with all the numbers into like graphs seem to have, like Mo Ryan has had.
Visited our website.
Yeah. So I like
Who's on?
Yeah, or like when Autostraddle had the graphs about the barrier gay stuff. Like I feel like academics, obviously, you're probably buried in numbers. Like if you can like translate that to the common folk. Yeah, like translate it for the common folk. Like make us understand it. It's like, yeah.
Send it to us and we'll do it.
Oh, good. Thank you. Hey guys, sorry I'm super nervous. No need to be nervous. Alright, so now that the collective fandom and other LGBTQ fandoms have actually spoken up, educated writers, showrunners, and creators in the industry about this issue, what are you guys as people within the industry going to do to continue that conversation, continue the education, progress, to help have our stories told, and that the representation we get is actually good representation? Sorry, super long.
Well, I can speak as a writer. I'm a member of the Writers Guild of America, and within the guild, we have caucus groups for minority groups. So I'm on the Women's Caucus, I'm on the LGBT Caucus, and we meet in these groups every other month, and we talk about representation, and we talk about how can we get queer stories, female stories out there, who's buying them, who's interested, and it's really hard. It's really hard to get this kind of stuff on there. Even in 2017, it's difficult. And as many great strides and leaps forward as we've made, and I think especially with streaming channels, with Hulu, with Netflix, with Amazon, you can tell niche stories, you can tell queer stories, you can tell stories of people of color, and I think it's just a matter of supporting those stories. Like that's what we need. We need your support to watch all of the watch all the queer web series that you can find. Go online and see who's watching what. Ask your friends. Ask the Lesbiverse on Twitter, hey, what are you guys watching right now? What are you into? And really kind of communicating. I mean, we're writing queer characters, we're writing female stories, but it's difficult because there's all of the gatekeepers, and all the people with the money are usually cis, white, straight dudes, unfortunately.
I got a back someday. Emily Andress, that's right. Awesome. Yeah, I think hiring diversity is huge, and also I find, without tooting my own horn, I feel like women are more open-minded about saying what they don't know. I don't or would have put the lights because I'm already a showrunner. Do you know what I mean? I feel like, look, I'm the boss. I have mustard on my shirt. I don't care. But I don't know how to do that because I know my strengths. So I feel like when you talk about positivity, one thing that's been really lovely about it is I feel more comfortable going to people. For example, in the trans community is a great example. If I was going to write a trans character, I would really need help with that. But I'm not afraid to say, I really want to do this right. Do you know what I mean? And I want to ask stupid questions about my trans dragon show, which I'm really excited about. But like honestly, I think like you gotta remember that people are learning and they don't know what they don't know. And I think that's really hard, right? Because people make mistakes and it's incredibly insulting. But it's really hard for someone to say, I really screwed up, can you help? Can I reach out to communities and say, how do I do this? So that's what I'm hoping is going to change, that maybe now there's an openness and there's you know, groups within the WDC or the WGA that are accessible for writers to talk to. And I do think it's changing. Like certainly in writing rooms, I find certain attitudes just aren't acceptable anymore. You know, and I'm from Canada, so it's like crazy up there. Oh yay, okay, but like it is different. Like you really see a generational divide now that things are changing with people coming up through the pipeline where they're like, oh man, we really just can't fit a dude in a dress and it's not gonna be funny. Do you know, just like the stuff like that? Like people are more educated, so just as a younger generation, it is just gonna change. It's just gonna take time and openness.
Yeah. And I just want to say, as somebody who reports on this, I serve at the pleasure of the queer fan. You know, I've always had your back. I always will have your back. And so it's my job to cover the things that are important to you and to make sure that I am there to amplify your voices. So I think that's the same for anybody who cares about these sorts of issues, who writes about these sorts of things. Like, talk to me, talk to Chelsea, talk to any of us. Like, talk to us. And Bridget, we want to know what you have to say, and we want to bring the things that you want to see. So, you know, we're here.
Just from a fandom perspective as well, I think we're in a room right now where everyone here and we're talking about these topics and you're all supporting it. If we can have more of these, it's going to change things. And we're here because of you guys. Like, we're here because of these Twitter trends. Just keep talking about it. It's going to keep happening. And let's keep having these conversations with people who can make a difference.
Okay, we got two more, right? We got to do these real quick. We got to get out of here.
Hi.
So my question, I think, is mostly for Emily and I guess Chelsea as well. I think kind of the aftermath of Lex's death was pretty well documented. And I know we touched a little bit on the queer baiting, but I think some of the big missteps that happened were things like writers going into lesbian forums and the showrunner inviting people to the set to see that Lex is alive in the finale and things like that. So kind of what have you learned about what's the line you just kind of can't cross anymore? And kind of when you're building up a relationship with the fans online and just kind of trying to get people interested in your show, but kind of where's the line and what have you kind of learned from that kind of misstep?
I just think you have to be so aware if you're courting the LGBT community and they put their trust in you, how precious that is and how vulnerable a lot of people are in that community because they just don't see themselves on television. I think the line for me is, oh God, I just hope I wouldn't promise something or say I'm going to deliver something that I can't deliver. I don't know how to put it except in vague terms, do you know what I mean? Like, I always try to answer honestly and be aware of how many people it matters to. I do think like it's not always going to be done perfectly for everybody, right? The bigger something gets and the more people are invested in something, the more different opinions there are. I think the line for me is just actual baiting, like true baiting. I think is off the table for me.
I think also it's frustrating, especially for queer writers, because once we sell something or have a project optioned, it's out of our hands, it's gone. And so then the company can do whatever it is they want to do with it. Like I just had a screenplay optioned by a very bro-y company, and now I'm just like, oh God, what are they gonna do with my baby? So we really are powerless in that sense. I do think that what we need, what helps us is having queer representation in the writer's room as showrunners, and people that are really let a
great allies. Like, I feel like, how many of you started watching Winona Earp because you watched Lost Girl and you were like, exactly, yes. Like, once when I saw that Winona Earp was coming out, I was like, oh my god, I can trust Emily Andrews with our stories. She's gonna do right by us. Let's all watch Winona Earp. And we are a loyal fandom. Like, we're insanely loyal. We'll follow the same actor through like 50 different roles. Because we played like a lesbian in one episode of something once upon a time. Like, we're fucking crazy. So I do think that having more queer writers and having people championing queer writers and inviting queer writers, you know, we go, I live in LA, and I go to, there's constantly diversity panels and women in film panels and how do we get more women, and I have to sit there and watch a bunch of old white guys be like, I'd love to get more queer female writers on my show, but like, I don't know where they are. And I'm like, I'm right here, dick. Like, I don't know. But it is, like, we need to be telling our own stories. So that, I think, is like the most important thing.
Thank you. All right, last question.
Hi guys, I have a question. It's something that I know a lot of people want in Collector. They want it with Savage, they want it with Wayhart, where the love interest isn't just a pretty piece of candy. We want to know about their backstory, what makes them them. It was something that Sandra parroted so well, where there were these both fully fleshed out characters and how they fitted together. So for you as a writer, for something like Wayhart, are we ever going to see Kat's character's development, where she came from? You know, what is she doing in the town?
I love that this is a sneaky spoiler question. Just what's gonna happen next year? Yes, you will see Sora.